Hey, what's up everybody? It's video 44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so this particular video is about the New York Knickerbockers 2021-2022 season roster. Just give you my opinion about the players that I've done homework on and the players that I already know a little about. To be honest with you, half the team is players from the second round and players that were probably not going to get a whole lot of playing time, so I did not look them up. I apologize to you early, just didn't do it. But I have a good enough understanding of this team and did enough homework on the players that I believe will have key roles to where you'll have a general understanding of what they're going to be running out there this year from a roster perspective. So that is my goal, and let's get underway. All right, the first name I'm going to mention in regards to the Knicks is Coach Tibbs. Tom Thibodeau is a coach that is known for giving his starters a full spectrum of minutes. The theme is, if Tom Thibodeau is running your squad, you're probably only going to go about 7 deep. So the guys on the back of the bench is another reason why I need to do homework on these guys. They're not going to play. They're not going to get any time at all. They'll be lucky to be out there if he's low on men. That's how bad that is. He's infamous for it. He will run players into the ground. But fortunately for him, the players that he has on this team are built for that. They like that. I think that was worked into the Knicks equation upon bringing in players like that, high usage, high volume, heavy load carrying players who should be able to do the job. So I like this team from that standpoint. Coach Tibbs is obviously a guy who's infamous for being a fantastic defensive mind, one of the great defensive minds of his era, especially as an assistant coach with the Boston Celtics and that famous super team that they had down there in the early 2010s, in the late 2000s, I should say. That was his defensive mind, his schemes, and his creativity, helping them get to the finals twice and winning one against my Los Angeles Lakers. So I know of Coach Tibbs from that. Had some interesting times with the Timberwolves. That didn't go as well, just based on the fact that the players didn't really take to being used that much. They had a lot of young players that need development, stuff like that. It just wasn't the right situation for his style of play. But the Knicks is a bit better. Everybody in New York seems to like him. The players rave about him. They love him. And this has just turned out to be a good situation for the New York Knicks and Coach Tibbs. So let's keep it going. Next name we're going to talk about in regards to the New York Knicks is, of course, their all-star, Julius Randle. Of course, that's a Laker kid. You guys know I'm a huge Laker fan, so I'm always going to reference each and every one of our kids. This is somebody who is simply a force of nature, someone that the Lord touched with great strength. He is one of the strongest players in all of basketball, and he's turned himself into, dare I say, an elite three-point shooter overnight. I mean, the type of shooting he was putting up, shooting over 40% last year from behind the arc when that wasn't even his game with the Los Angeles Lakers, is overly impressive. Now, he did hit the three with the Lakers. I've seen him hit many a three, so don't think that I'm saying he's never been able to space the floor. But he's not somebody that you would ever accuse of being a great three-point shooter. And what he did last year was shoot the ball great. So he made an all-star team, well-deserved. This is also a fantastic rebounder, fantastic dunker, just an overall really, really, really smart basketball player who's turned himself into a hell of a shooting weapon from both behind the arc and mid-range. He can always drive at you. One of the issues that I had with him as a Laker fan, watching his development, of course, was him, barreling into people and getting a lot of charges. He would get about 2 charges a game as a kid. But he shook all that off. He's learned his game. He's much more elusive now. He's used his athleticism to his advantage. He's quicker, he's faster, stronger, and better. And at this point, Julius Randle is somebody I expect to make yet another all-star team this year without any concern whatsoever. He's the type of player that I would want to get 40-plus minutes a game because he's built to do it. He's got the body for Thibodeau's practices. And that is why I think this is a fantastic situation, because if I was going to pick any one player in the league to be running to the ground minute after minute after minute for Coach Tibbs, I would probably have Julius Randle at the top of that list in this era. He's built for it. He's born to play 48, 82 plus playoffs. He can do that. Now, in the playoffs, I will admit, in that closeout game, he looked very bad. And in that playoff series against the Atlanta Hawks, he did not make himself look good at all. Granted, he was going up against Clint Capella, for which I know is a hell of a problem for him, because the thing about Julius Randle is he has below average arm length. He overcomes it by being fantastic on the court, but it does rear its ugly head when it's time for him to kind of go up against players who have the type of strength that he has, Clint Capella does, but has the requisite amount of length and height to disrupt him. And Mitchell Robinson, of whom we'll mention a little later here in this video, was missing. So it was upon him to kind of play the center position by himself, and Atlanta had a lot of good bigs. So that was a skewed situation. He didn't look good in playoffs, but I also realized that he didn't have a full spectrum of complementary pieces to ensure that he didn't have to do too much. So I expect Julius Randle to be better this year. The Knicks have acquired some more shooting. Some of the other players on this team have gotten a little older, going to have bigger roles this year, etc. So I think Julius Randle and the New York Knicks are in for a solid year yet again. So I'm happy for Juju. He re-signed with this team, if I'm not mistaken. Got himself a good deal. I always say when I mention Julius Randle that Julius fans should be mentally prepared for disappointment as it pertains to possibly being traded someday away from New York to either New Orleans or in a trade for Zion Williamson. It's just one of those situations where I honestly say if Zion wants to be in New York, they're going to want to bring him in. I'm sure all New York fans would love to have him, but it's going to probably cost you Juju because I don't think they can coexist. It was sort of like the dynamic between Bron and Juju. As soon as we knew we were getting Bron, we probably weren't bringing Juju back. It's the same thing. Those two players, it's very hard for me to see them coexisting on a basketball floor. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't play together. It just means that I don't see a franchise wanting to put them together. It's a bit redundant in some cases. Even though you've got two powerful players like that, I would love to see what a team like them can do from the center and power forward position, but they're both a bit undersized for the center, and they both are traditional forwards that don't really play 3, 2, or 1. So it's kind of like you just don't want to have both of those guys on max contracts and then try to fill out the rest of the roster with the limited money that you'd be paying after paying them. It's just, you kind of want to give yourself a bit more balance out there in theory. So, yeah, I always say this. It's not because I want to disappoint Juju's fans or anybody that's rooting for the Knicks, but it just is something that I see on the horizon. I'm good at seeing stuff on the horizon, and this is almost inevitable. Zion's going to want to be a Knick, and it's that simple. So that's what I tell everybody all the time. Moving on. All right. Derrick Rose is the next name I want to mention on this team. The great Derrick Rose, one of the great Chicago legends, both on and off the court. Derrick Rose is just one of the guys that we really root for in this NBA. It's a damn shame that he doesn't have a championship opportunity coming to him this season. I'm kind of disappointed that the Knicks didn't let him go find a championship caliber team like the Nets, like the Lakers, to really play for something, or go back to Chicago where they're going to be contending this year. I think the Knicks have a good role for him, though. And I think that they could overachieve quite a bit if he and Kimball Walker kind of play off one another well, and they find a good rotation to get those players their requisite amount of minutes and looks. For which we'll talk about Kimball, of course. But Derrick Rose is a guy, of course, who has really turned himself into a durable player. And I know some people are going to laugh and he that, but no, I'm dead serious. He's one of those guys like Grant Hill, like some of the other guys who've had bad injuries early on in their careers, who, because of those bad injuries, have incredible discipline in regards to keeping themselves in shape. They're mindful of how to do so. They're mindful of what not to do on the court to get themselves injured. Guys like that tend to last longer in the long term once they shake off injury issues. That's something that's a running theme that I'm seeing a lot. A guy will go from great player to injury prone to durable veteran. I've seen it. It happens. And it's usually the guys who were superstars originally, who believe themselves to be great players, that are able to work themselves into the type of shape that makes them such durable veterans. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now with Derrick Rose. He's been healthy for a couple years. If he goes down, it's a slight injury. It's not one of those knee things, knock on wood, continuous health for Derrick Rose. And I expect him to have another stellar season, putting together a respectable second half of his career. That's what I'm saying. I say it's respectable because the first half of his career is Hall of Fame. I look at Derrick Rose as one of the great under 23 players to ever play this game. He was just simply, his MVP season was legendary as they come. After the knee injuries, of course, he's just had to shake off that and then find himself on the Timberwolves and Knicks and Cleveland and all these different places. Knicks for a second time now. And I just like the fact that he's just durable at this point. I like the fact that he's a real good guy that you can just go out there and say, get me 16 points and 5 assists, a couple boards, and help us win the game. And he's still hitting big shots. He's still driving at the rim. He's still very effective, doing all the things that Derrick Rose does, even after all these injuries. So, yeah, Derrick Rose, I'm a fan, as most people are. And for me, I just want to see him in a situation to get a championship now. This is real nice seeing him play for the Knicks. They're a good team. They got some guys. Maybe they can overachieve. Maybe they can even get to the playoffs. But, no, I want to see him play for it. I want to see him hoist the trophy. That's basically where I'm at with that. So, moving on. We're going to talk about Kimball Walker. Kimball Walker's coming home, y'all. This is a big deal for, I'm sure, him and his family. He spent a long time in Charlotte, was really dedicated to that situation during some of the worst times they had. Got up out of there, went to Boston. Boston wasn't that much better. They're kind of in flux. They're not really sure, how they're going about things. They traded him to OKC in a salary dump situation. OKC, cut ties and gave him an opportunity to sign with the Knicks, and he has signed with the New York Knickerbockers, if I'm not mistaken. Or they traded him to the Knicks. I'm not sure. I got to go look at that. But either way, he lands with the Knicks from OKC, and he's home. He's just in a situation where he's going to get a chance to likely start for the New York Knickerbockers. I say likely because they have some guys down there that are going to try to push him for that. But I think he's the guy that's going to have that starting position early on. And we know what to expect from Kimball Walker. Fantastic footwork, fantastic clutch ability, fantastic three-point shooting, fantastic ball handling. He's an all-star who has had some injury issues at this stage in his career. He's kind of taken some steps down in terms of his production. He's exiting his prime. And starting to come into that place where he's ready to settle into a role as opposed to being a superstar. But no better situation than to play at home for his New York Knicks. I like what they did there in regards to making sure that they have yet another person who can stretch the floor for them. Bringing in Kimball Walker makes you significantly more deadly from behind the arc. For a team that's already pretty deadly from behind the arc, they did some good things in regards to three-point shooting. They improved quite a bit there. So Kimball's going to help them most with that, in my opinion. He's just going to be a very consistent three-point shooter, ball handler, point guard extraordinaire, shoot-first point guard, who, if he has a breakout year or a comeback year, I could see possibly making an all-star team, depending on how things work out, because of the usage. One would think they have a logjam at point guard, yes, but this is Tom Thibodeau, and he's going to play you a lot of minutes. So if he comes out and plays well, I could totally see Kimball Walker's numbers increasing quite a bit from where they were with the Boston Celtics. In fact, I can totally see him getting more than 25 minutes a game and averaging probably over 15, 16 points a game. But like I said, it's just going to be very hard without the injuries to see him be able to get all the minutes. So it's here or there. It's hard to really project. They got some quality guards, that's for sure. All right, next up, the next thing we're going to talk about is Evan Fournier, guy we just, left the situation that we were talking about as well. He was with the Boston Celtics last year after only spending about 5 minutes there. He spent the majority of his career in Orlando after starting his career first with the Denver Nuggets, playing some good years there, shooting the ball. And, continuing to go to Orlando and just continue what it is that he does best, shooting the rock. He's one of those guys where if he leaves your team, you got significantly worse three-point shooting-wise. If he comes to your team, you got significantly better three-point shooting-wise. He's just that kind of guy. Guy out of France who's going to continue to slash and make sure he's in a position to be open, to catch and shoot. And he's a consistent scorer, man. He's a guy who, when he's right, he can contribute quite a bit in the scoring column, quite a bit. One of the more reliable role-playing scorers out there shooting the ball. So I've always liked Evan Fournier's game. I trust his game, and I think he's going to make this team better from behind the arc. All right, next name we're going to talk about here is R.J. Barrett, a guy that they picked up early in the draft. I believe he was third in the draft about 3 or 4 years ago. Small forward. Thing about R.J. Barrett is he was drafted amongst some really, really talented guys. So he's one of those people that they want to call a bust. But as I've said very recently about several players on this Knicks team, you can't call them a bust. It's too early to call some of these forwards on this Knicks team a bust. R.J. Barrett is definitely one of them. And even so, his numbers would never, ever, ever back up that claim. His numbers tell you he's everything but a bust. In fact, he's an ascending small forward who probably will make an all-star team before it's over. He's a pure scorer, a guy who can score a lot of points a lot of the time. Does he have some disappearing moments where he's not as consistent as you'd like him to be? Yes, he does disappear, and he can disappear in some really bad ways. But the majority of the time, he's scoring, and he's scoring a lot for this team. And with the type of scoring options that they have on this squad, coupled with the high usage, you can totally see where his numbers should go up. Not as much attention going to be paid to him on defense. Should be more open shots, more single coverage situations for him this year. Guys like Kimball Walker are going to draw so much attention just simply by being aggressive. It's going to be drive and kick situations. You'll see more fast break situations for this team. And I think R.J. Barrett's going to be the beneficiary of a lot of that. He's good scoring in both the full court and the half court. He's one of those guys that you can trust spotting up. He's one of those guys you can put the ball in his hands and he'll create for himself. He has a big body. He rebounds pretty well. And he's just a guy who's going to continue to develop into an expert scorer in this league. That's what I think. He is a very gifted guy. And it's just one of those situations where I think a lot of people are rooting for his downfall because of who was drafted around him. So I don't subscribe to that. I'm a fan of what it is that he does. He's in his developing stages. He's not a finished product by any stretch of the imagination. And as long as he continues to stay healthy, I don't see any reason for him not to continue to get much, much better. So I'm high on R.J. Barrett. I think the Knicks should be high on R.J. Barrett. And I like what he's going to be for them going forward. All right, next up, Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson's a guy who is one of the more elite field goal shooters in all of basketball because he simply doesn't miss anything because he dunks everything. And he's also one of the premier shot blockers in all of basketball. Someone who's going to block all the shots in the world because of how long he is and how tall he is and how great his timing is. Just an elite rim protector. One of the guys that you're considering going forward when you think about how you can improve your defense, what type of player can you invest in. One of the first names I'm going to be considering is Mitchell Robinson. He can make our defense so much better with his skill set and length. So, yeah, that's a guy that I like. They got in, I think at the end of the end of the first round, I believe it was. A couple years back, I think my Lakers passed on him. Kind of disappointed we did that because we were projected to draft him. He would have helped us quite a bit in this era, to say the least. The thing about Mitchell Robinson is he's coming off a broken leg, if I'm not mistaken. He has injury issues here and there. But even throughout the injury-prone nature of his early stages, he has still been able to prove himself as one of the most effective shot blockers in basketball. So with that being said, I see no reason for him to not come back and continue on that process. The Knicks need what it is that he does. They missed what it is that he is in the playoffs last year. And ultimately, he is going to continue his dominance blocking shots. I have no doubt. I do think they should bring him along slowly, though. Being that he's coming off the broken leg, it would be wise for them not to rush him out there if he's not 100%. Let him get his body in 100% order, and he will be exactly what it is I just described. All right, next up, we'll talk about, well, I'm not going to mention this guy too much right now because I did do some homework on him, and I'll tell you exactly about him in detail. But Emmanuel Quickly's on the squad as one of those guards, and we'll get in him later. Obi Toppin, same thing. We'll get to him. Let's see. All right, next name we'll talk about is Kevin Knox. And this is a guy that I brought up a couple days ago because I saw something online that basically declared him as a bust. And I just didn't think it was fair because his development has not gone well at all. And I don't blame him for that. I blame the Knicks for that. He's a shooting weapon who from where I'm sitting, has lost his confidence. As I said, they drafted guys like obviously R.J. Barrett, and you put people in front of him, stuff like that, so that he hasn't had an opportunity to really make the mistakes and have the leash that would allow him to make those mistakes and keep his minutes. I would love for the New York Knicks to cut ties with Kevin Knox if they're not going to use him properly. I think this is one of those situations similar to Ben Simmons in a way where in order for him to get better, he's probably going to have to leave that environment in order for him to shake off whatever has been done, whatever damage has been done from being there. It would probably be best for him to have a different and new environment from which to start over. Now, I haven't heard anything about this player. I haven't heard anything from this player, so this is just purely my speculation based on what I'm seeing with the numbers and how his production is going in that way. For all I know, he's very happy there, so I want to make sure I make that clear. But from where I'm sitting, he should want out of there, and the Knicks seem to have given up on him as it pertains to what they drafted him to be. So let him go. Don't hold him hostage and let his value continue to drop to nothing. Give him an opportunity to show that he's a shooter, to show that he's a big body dude. And I think if he turns into his best self, he's probably somewhere around the lane of a guy like Tobias Harris. That's how I look at him. If he develops fully properly with the body that he has and his shooting touch, he can kind of turn into something like that. So I'm very, very interested in seeing if Kevin Knox is going to continue to struggle in this league. But I would like to first see them move on from him so he can get a fresh start doing so elsewhere. It's going to be on him, though. He's going to have to put in the work. You got to love the game. You know, there's been a lot of talk about him being a Fortnite, obsessed with Fortnite. That's cool. I don't have no problem with a young guy being obsessed with video games because I did too. But the difference is when you have an NBA career ahead of you and a lot of talent, you want to give yourself an opportunity to get the most money in that so you can do all that you can in buying all the skins and everything you want to buy in Fortnite with all the money that you earn from playing basketball. So, I think Kevin Knox is in a strong position right now to where it's year 5, I believe it is. He's probably fully healthy, fully strong. He's been working out all this time. I would be fighting for my development at this point, even if that means going to the G League and playing 30 minutes every day for a G League team just so I can put up 40 against guys who I know I'm better than. But what Kevin Knox needs is just simply more shots against professional basketball players. As long as he's getting 5 and 10 minutes a night, he's never going to develop into anything, let alone what you drafted him to be. It's still early enough to where you can get him in situations where he's playing meaningful basketball and you can turn him into something. But right now, I just think the Knicks have given up on him, and that is not cool. Simply not cool. So that's what I think of that situation. All right. Next up, Alec Burks. Alec Burks is a baller. Those are not my words. It's my mom's words. When Alec Burks was crossing up Kobe Bryant in one random game when he played for the Warriors, I believe it was, we going up against the Lakers. He did some type of move. I looked at my mom. My mom was like, that dude right there, that's a baller, son. I know one when I see him. That's a pure baller. He can do what he does right there on that court against anybody, anywhere. And that's proven true. Alec Burks is a guy who's had a lot of injury issues. Started his career off with the Utah Jazz. Like I said, baller there, scoring, first player, could stretch the floor quite a bit. Had a lot of pop, as I said, ball handling. He crossed Kobe up. So needless to say, this is somebody who can put the ball on the floor. He's a role player. You know, you're not looking at him to be no superstar or take on big roles. But if you give him opportunities to boost your scoring opportunities, boost your scoring side of the ball, he will do that for you. He helped the Golden State Warriors. He helped the Utah Jazz. I believe he went to the Philadelphia 76ers and shined there. Shined on Philly for about a half a season. They sent him off to New York, and he's been shining there too. So that's what I think of Alec Burks. He's just a gamer, man. The injuries have kind of set him back. The roles that they've given him have made him a role player. But this is somebody who can easily go out there and score high percentages, and that's exactly what you pay him to do. So I like Alec Burks, and I think he's going to help this team if he gets some playing time, although they have quite a few guards, so I don't know what the playing time will be like for Alec this year. Next up, Nerlens Noel. Nerlens Noel is a player who can block shots. Obviously, we remember Nerlens Noel as being the second pick in the draft, traded for Drew Holiday, one of the worst trades of all time, in my opinion. When you consider what Drew Holiday became, Philadelphia, he was already an all-star. You traded an all-star for Nerlens Noel. And then turned around, if I'm not mistaken, and traded Nerlens Noel for nothing. I don't even remember how that went. I honestly don't remember. I think Nerlens Noel ended up at Philadelphia in 76. Obviously, they kept him. They had Rashad Holmes. They had all these different players, so he didn't develop properly at all. Ended up with Dallas for a couple seconds. Became a nice shot blocker there. Did some good things. And then, of course, the infamous situation with Clutch took place. And if you're not familiar with that, he's got a gripe with Clutch because he says they cost him some money, told him something was a certain way. He acted upon it. It didn't pan out that way, and they never made up for it. So now he's got his gripe. I don't know if it's legal or not, so I'm not going to say it's legal, but it seems as if it's that. And that's what I understand it to be. So he's a guy who just feels like he's caught a bad break with injuries, bad break with deals, bad break with everything, and his development is just not gone well. And he still persevered through all of that and turned himself into a very valuable defensive presence, blocking shots just like Mitchell Robinson. Now, he wasn't able to fill Mitchell Robinson's shoes in the playoffs, but when you have both of those guys on the floor, when you have them as a tandem, you always have a shot blocker on the floor. You always feel good about being able to have a last line of defense that'll help your non-defensive guards. So this is a very nice dynamic that they have going here, sort of like Utah's dynamic with the centers that they have. They just made sure that they got non-shooting, shot-blocking bigs in place just in case of any defensive breakdowns. They have that guy in place. So this is a very important piece. Nerlens Noel, you don't look to him to really do too much offensively at all. That's not his game. That's not what you're paying him for. You just want him to rebound the ball, dunk a couple times, but block shots, make people miss. So he's going to do that for you. All right, next up, Taj Gibson. Taj Gibson's a player. We respect Taj Gibson. He's been around the league for a long time, made his name with USC as a really nice player there, got drafted, if I'm not mistaken, to Chicago. He was with Chicago for a while, did some really good things there, skipped around, played for some teams, Minnesota for a little bit. I think he did some time with, I forget some of these teams, honestly. I think this is his second tenure with the Knicks. But Taj Gibson's been around a little bit. I think he was with OKC too, I don't know. But he's been around a little bit. And you know him for rebounding the ball, dunking the ball. You know, somebody who's going to be a steady presence defensively for you. Underrated player. You know, he's kind of put himself in some situations where you would say, why did you sign there? Because it's a saturated situation with a bunch of forwards. That's what I usually say with Taj Gibson. It's like, why did you sign there? But he seems to find himself in situations where he's like the third string or the fourth string guy, and he usually does shine in those situations. It's almost like he searches for those situations. So he's in a space where he likes being in New York. He's comfortable there. Again, he's playing behind a bunch of people, so he's going to be doing some sitting. But ultimately, like I said, he seems comfortable. No one's complaining. So Taj Gibson's a Knick. What can I say? Seems that's a little bit of a head scratcher for me. But hey, if somebody's happy, I don't really do too much questions asking after that. All right. Next person we'll talk about is Dwayne Bacon. Dwayne Bacon is a shooting guard who's had some pop, man. I've seen him do some good things. I don't know a lot about Dwayne Bacon. I know he spent a lot of time with the Charlotte Hornets and the Orlando Magic, so that is why I just don't know a lot about Dwayne Bacon. Needless to say, we don't get to see those two teams. But Dwayne Bacon always shines when he plays. I always see him slashing at the basket, getting to the line, getting a foul drawn for him, making a free throw. So if I know Dwayne Bacon to be anything, he's a shooting guard who's going to be aggressive, shoots the three-some. I've seen him do that as well. So that's about as much as I know about Dwayne Bacon, just another shooting guard on this team that they can throw in there and get some good role-playing minutes out of for sure. All right, now they got a half a team, like I said, a half a team full of guys that I did not do homework on because I don't think they're going to play in Tibbs' system. And a lot of those guys have the same last name, believe it or not. Sims. 3 Sims on this team. Amir Sims, Aaron Sims, and Jericho Sims. So those are 3 guys. Aaron Sims is a 6'6" forward out of Montana Western. Amir Sims is a 6'8" forward out of Clemson. And Jericho Sims is a 6'10" power forward out of Texas. So they got 3 Sims forwards. I don't think they're related. In fact, one of them is spelled differently than the other 2. So 3 Sims. That's what we're talking about. Also, we got some more guys here. MJ Walker, 6'5" shooting guard out of Florida State. Rokas Jokubaitis, 6'4" guard. I'm not sure where he's from, but he's picked with the 34th pick in this year's draft. Jericho Sims, as I said, Miles McBride is going to be a 6'2" guard out of West Virginia, picked with the 36th pick in the draft, right next to Rokas. And then they got Quentin Grimes, of whom I did some homework on, I'll tell you about right now. Quentin Grimes is out of Houston. He's a 3-and-D guy, a lockdown, special lockdown guy that they got with the 25th pick in the draft this year. So this is their first round guy, 6'5", 6'7" wingspan, and he's a defender, y'all. Like, I did homework on this fella, and the first thing, second thing, and third thing they talked about was how well he was defensively in numerous ways. On-ball defender. He's a perimeter shot blocker. That was the second thing they mentioned about this guy. Not that he dribbles, not that he dunks, not that he passes, no. He's a perimeter defender. Do you know how valuable that is? Especially for somebody who plays the guard spot, a 2 guard. You know how many 2 guards shoot threes? You know how many 1 guards shoot threes? This guy specializes in perimeter defense. Now, if that isn't something that makes your eyebrows raise, I don't know what is. I've done homework on all these players. I ain't heard none of them specialize in perimeter defense. In fact, I don't remember seeing anybody specialize in perimeter defense. So that'll tell you right there. This is a special, pure lockdown player, a very good rebounder as well. He's gifted rebounding the ball on both sides, the offensive and defensive side, so that's going to help them quite a bit. Very, very good lateral movement. Obviously good with his length, 6'7" wingspan. He's able to do things with that. And his footwork on defense is spectacular. But on the offensive end, he can do a couple things for you. He's a smooth catch-and-shoot player. He's improved quite a bit in college. From the time he got to college to the time he left, he improved dramatically shooting the three. He hits the long ball three from behind, further behind the arc. You know the one we're talking about. Relocates well from behind the arc. He can kind of put himself in positions to get open, reads well situations. He can get himself in positions to get open. Solid shooter off of screens, same thing. Can create shots for himself as well, can put it on the ground a little bit. You don't want him dribbling all day long, but he can step into it. If he's by himself and you're sagging off of him, he can step into a nice dribble three-point shot from the top of the key, that kind of thing. Good nose for the ball, a 50-50 player, somebody that makes winning plays. It's something that I've been reading a lot about a lot of these rookies in this draft class. They're very good at having a nose for the ball. They can dive on the ground and get to it quicker than the average person. So the 50-50 ball situation for some of these guys who've been in the league for a long time, if you're not good at that, there's an infusion of players who are. So get ready. So that's what we know about Quentin Grimes. Quintessential 3-and-D with emphasis on the defensive side of the ball. This is a lockdown, y'all. This is somebody who's going to be on your best player, and he's going to put his chest on him. That's the thing that I saw about Quentin Grimes that was really special. He's very, very good. He's keeping his chest high and bumping you with that. Now, he's going to have to work on not drawing fouls because that's going to be the thing. You're this aggressive and you're this physical defensively. There will be opportunities for players to take advantage of you, flopping off of you and things like that. So that's going to be the learning curve for Quentin Grimes. Is your strength going to be turned into a weakness by some of these superior defensive players? Superior offensive players. So, that's a problem for every pure lockdown that comes into this league, and they all figure it out. So I'm not worried about Quentin Grimes. His offensive ability and his ability to stretch the floor is going to make him more valuable than some of these other guys who are great defensive players but just can't score the ball. We know of a few of those names. He's not like that. So, the makings for this player to get better and be better and just be reliable is there. Even if he doesn't pan out to be some great player, his skill set will keep him on the floor. He'll be on an NBA roster. So that's Quentin Grimes right there. Shooting guard. All right, next up, another guard, Immanuel Quickley. Wow, what can I say? Immanuel Quickley is a fantastic player already. One of the premier young guards that were drafted over the last 2 years, in my opinion. He's 6'3", 6'8" wingspan. I didn't realize he had long arms like that. Looking at his college stats, I didn't quite catch his statistics as it pertains to last year's rookie season, but in college, he shot 92% from the line, 41% from the field, and 42% from the three. So needless to say, this is a three-level scorer with high scoring percentage potential. He's an elite three-point shooter. This guy is going to play off of, he's going to be someone that I think Kimball Walker is going to take a liking to as it pertains to his style of play, and he's going to be somebody that Kimball Walker kind of mentors going forward, in my opinion, because they have some of the same skill sets, being able to dribble off of the dribble well and then dribble in the shots, create for themselves, create for others. They both have fantastic footwork, that kind of thing. You're going to see opportunities for them to play together at times, and they're going to rip people apart. He has quick release on his shot, elite three-point shooter, as I said, great footwork, an elite lane runner. So this is somebody who can kill it in transition. He moves fantastically without the ball. He has superior awareness, floater specialist. He can hit floaters all day long. Good on-ball defender. He defends extremely well as well. So now you're seeing a theme here with the two young guards that we've mentioned back-to-back. They're both fantastic on-ball defenders. Gotta love what the Knicks are putting together there. Closes gap extremely well, even though he's not overly quick. If you're thinking you're open, he's going to cover that space fast. So definitely appreciate that. And he fights around screens well. He gets skinny very, very well. He's not going to be the guy fighting over screens, kind of letting you step behind your man and shoot. Nah, he's going to fight through that and you're just going to have to try to rub him off of you. So that's what I have on Emmanuel quickly. Just a fantastic score first, two-way scorer with elite three-point shooting ability and fantastic quickness and handles. He lives up to his name. Quickly definitely lives up to his name. He's going to get things done very quickly. He can put up points very quickly. And this is somebody that I like a whole lot, and the New York Knicks need to definitely have his money ready. Do not play with this man's money. I understand there are a lot of players on this team that have upside that could potentially be put into a position to succeed. He's one of the ones that I prioritize the most. You do not play with a player that has this type of motor, skill set, and two-way ability. No way. He is prioritized in my opinion. So I like Emmanuel quickly to the utmost. I think his upside is very, very, very high. All right. And the last player I did some homework on for the New York Knicks is Obi Toppin. Obi Toppin is 6'9", out of the University of Dayton. I got his college stats as well. He shot 63% from the field and 39% from the three. So this is somebody who can potentially be a very, very, very effective three-point shooter and space spreader, space creator, space. I'm not saying that correctly, but he stretches the floor very well for you. He's a lob god. Simple as that. Throw it up there, 2 points. 2 points, easy. He's one of the most explosive leapers ever. Already one of the most creative dunkers ever already. So this guy is elite when it comes to an explosive athlete. He's Amare Stoudemire all over again. Just an amazing offensive dunker. Jeez. And he runs the floor as well as any human being out there in terms of a straight line from end to end. Chances are he's going to beat most people down the court to catch the break. He has superior lower body strength that allows him to both run fast and leap high, and body control that allows him to contort in midair. And mind you, as I said, this guy's 6'9", so this is not a small guy. It's just like a DeAndre Jordan type in a way. You can high fly all day long. So even though he's only 6'9", chances are he's going to feel like you're dealing with somebody who's 7'1" because of his ability to leap off the ground. So this is somebody who I know has really, really fantastic offensive upside, offensive glass potential. He can definitely be a guy who can do putbacks. He's going to get better at that as he gets stronger. And as I said, good shooting form. He's going to stretch the floor for you. The better he shoots, the more effective he will be for any team that he plays for. He's not special as a dunker. Dunkers are not special, in my opinion. Yes, they can do some things for you that are really, really cool because you're going to love watching them play. But I've seen many a dunker who that's all they could do, and they weren't that good at pros. But if you're 6'9", and you can effectively shoot 40% from behind the arc, that will open up the court for you. That will make it so that guys will have to honor your three-point shot in such a way that they're running at you, closing out at you, as to what you could run straight past them and have many, many options. So as long as he's shooting the three very well, he's going to stay on the floor. He's going to have opportunities to get better. And from what I've seen, in Summer League and in little parts of just watching him play, his development is inevitable. I understand that he started off slow. He didn't play the first half of his rookie season. I think he got hurt or something. Didn't look good out there. He's a rookie. Rookies tend to start slow. But I'm telling you, 2, 3, 4 years down the road, offensively, this guy's Amare. He's essentially Amare Stoudemire. And the Knicks are going to have to develop him and give him opportunities to be that. They have a nice front court. Juju's there, so it's never going to be a situation where he has the front court to himself as long as Julius is healthy. However, this is somebody who, if you give him 40 minutes a game, it's not going to take long for him to show you that he's an easy bucket getter because he dunks so well, because he runs the floor so fast, because he's able to catch lobs with ease, because he shoots the ball. He's going to average 20 points plus. That's happening. That's happening. The only thing that can stop him from doing that is his own desire to not, or injuries. Because in my mind, the floor for a guy like this is in the cosmos. His floor is in the cosmos. I did not misspeak. Even if he doesn't develop into anything at all, he can already ignite your crowd, block a shot, run faster than everybody else, and catch every lob you throw at him. So the floor is the ceiling. The floor is the ceiling. I think at this point, you just want to see him get opportunities. And in this New York Knicks thing, as I've said 3-4 times, Tibbs is going to play his starters, and the bench doesn't really develop like that in theory. So I want to see the Knicks do a better job of kind of reeling that in so that they can develop the Obi Toppin, so they can get the minutes for for Emmanuel Quickley and guys like Grimes. They need more than 15, 20 minutes a game to be their best selves, and I don't know if that will be available to them on this team. So, we'll see. That's what I have for the New York Knicks for the most part. This is a team who's, the Obi Toppin draft pick, to be honest with you, I didn't like. I didn't like it at all. I like the player, but as I said, I think they needed Tyrese Halliburton. Tyrese Halliburton's a pass-first guy who plays defense, does a lot of things that Quickley does. He would have been a guy that plays off Quickley so well. They would have had a tandem that worked. Then they wouldn't have necessarily need for Kimball Walker or Derrick Rose in theory, but you don't really care depending on what else you're bringing in on top of what Obi would not be in that case. So in my mind, the Knicks can do things to make themselves better. I think they took the emotional, let's go bring the guys home route, and I think it kind of derailed them a bit. Obi's from Brooklyn. They wanted to bring him home. Kimba's from New York. They wanted to bring him home. So it's a lot of sentiment behind what it is they're doing. A lot of, dare I say, pandering to the fans within what it is that they're doing. And I understand that because they're trying to draw attention away from the Brooklyn Nets. But at the end of the day, you want to build a winning team. And I don't know that the New York Knicks are that this year. With the NBA, particularly the Eastern Conference, elevating player teams like New York like Brooklyn, Chicago, Miami, obviously the champs, Milwaukee. It's going to be tough with this roster without some of those back-of-the-bench guys developing and overachieving and getting better. It's going to be hard for me to see them at the top 6 in the playoffs, basically. I'm not going to even lie to you. I don't know that they're going to make the playoffs. They should make the playoffs with Julius Randle, RJ Barrett another year, Quickley and Grimes, defensive players, all these different, Obi. They got players, but I just look at the roster and I say that second half, those Sims dudes, all them other dudes, it's a COVID year, as I say in most videos. If you don't have depth or if you're not developing those guys in the back of the bench, when you need to call on them, when say so-and-so goes down with COVID protocols or injury, you're going to need the Sims guys. You're going to need some of these other dudes to step up and be effective. And if you don't give them minutes that'll allow them to develop their confidence and allow them to develop their rhythm, you're going to call on those guys and they're not going to be ready. And that's what I think is going to happen. Any of these shallow teams that are shallow only go 7-8 deep. The Knicks are one of them, unfortunately. You're going to need those guys in the back of that bench. You had to better develop those dudes. And so that's my concern about the Knicks is their depth as it pertains to just having enough bodies to withstand injury and stuff like that. But their team comes together pretty well. I would love to see them acquire a facilitator. Tyrese Halliburton would be great. I don't necessarily see that on this roster. All of the players that I mentioned that I can think of with the exception of Julius Randle shoot first. And even Juju shoots first, but he's such a fantastic facilitator. He passed the rock so well to where you have someone down there who can make others better when he's on the floor. That's his greatest attribute for this New York Knicks team, being that they don't have that. So, you want to see guys get better as playmakers. You definitely want to see Kimball Walker come in and have that facilitating mindset more so with this roster than he has in the previous situations he's been in. They're just going to need you to make plays for others more so. It's just necessary with this roster. What can I say? It's just necessary. But yeah, man, that's what I got. Play-in tournament. I think it would be a disappointment if the Knicks don't make the playoffs, obviously, because of the type of vets that they have on this team. Taj Gibson doesn't want to have a bad year. Kemba and Derrick Rose don't want to have down years. But for the Knicks, as a franchise, I like the idea of them getting a lottery pick this year. I love the idea of them adding an asset like that to this roster. Even if they don't necessarily use it on the player, if they trade it to get better or something like that, I just like the asset better than I like playoffs for them this year. I'm of the minds, I'm a Laker fan, so if we're not playing for a championship, the playoffs are a nuisance. I know that's like, what? But that's exactly how I feel. If you're not playing for a championship and you expect to be knocked out in the first round, then what the hell are you going to the first round for? Get the asset instead. So that's always been my theory. That's always been my philosophy, rather. We play for nothing. If we're not playing for something, we playing for nothing. Give me my pick. That's a better strategy for me. So I stand by that. I believe in that, and I think the Knicks should miss the playoffs so they can get that pick because they're just not good enough to really do anything else. If you don't share that sentiment, I totally understand. I definitely do. because there is something to be said for gaining experience of playoffs, especially when you have young players. So if you don't agree with that, again, I totally get it, but I want the asset. Anyway, that's what I got, man. Have a great season. New York Knicks, stay healthy. Shout out to Juju. Laker fans, we love you here, man. It is what it is. Congratulations to your kid as well, getting his deal. I love seeing people be able to get a good start with their families and everything. So, yeah, shout out to everybody, man. My name is BDL44. Thank y'all for watching. I'm out.